Welcome to Reddit's Darkest Corner. Today, we'll be looking through a thread of people's horrific encounters during their night shifts. The empty hotel room. Not mine, but I used to work at a small hotel, and the manager there told me a terrifying night shift story. It was about midnight when she got a call at the front desk from a man. He said that he's with his 8-year-old daughter, who dances competitively and needed advice on what she should wear. She gave him some basic fashion advice. He asked my manager, "What about fishnet leggings? Do you think those are too sexy?" Then proceeds to talk in graphic detail about how he thinks his own daughter has been trying to seduce him for weeks, and how he's starting to enjoy seeing her dance in these cute outfits. Meanwhile, my manager is looking through a computer system trying to figure out who this man is so she can call the cops. However, the room he was reportedly in was empty. The man ends up hanging the phone up before she could find out where he was truly calling from. A couple months later, at around 11 p.m., my manager answers the desk phone. A familiar voice asked her if she could help him pick out an outfit for his daughter's next dance recital. She asked him, "Let me guess you want to know if she should wear fishnet leggings." The man immediately hangs up the phone. Used to work night shifts at Home Depot. There was one time where for a week or so, our store stayed open 24 hours. For the most part, this wasn't really a problem. Typically, nobody comes shopping for home improvement items at 2 in the morning, except that one couple that came looking for marble countertops at 1:30 in the morning, and the woman was wearing a nice dress. I guess there was also that one young lady who came looking for a toilet paper roll holder a little after midnight. I had just gotten off my first break, and she was wearing jorts and one of those white with black belt stereotypical karate outfits. She was oddly specific about which roll holder to get, too. But the real story lies within the insulation. It was nearing 3 in the morning, and me and another guy were stocking insulation, as well as fixing the bays and some such maintenance. A bunch of big R30s had fallen in their bay, and while I was sorting through them, a fucking hand came out of the mess and grabbed my arm. I lost my mind enough for not only the guy I was working with to freak out, but also for my boss, who was across the store, to come check out the commotion. Turns out a homeless drunkard had come into the store at some point, and I can only assume before the night crew showed up, and had made a nest in the insulation where he fell asleep. The dude was in bad shape too, like far gone into whatever inebriation that we had to call the police to remove him. I was always a little more cautious around the insulation for at least the time the store stayed open 24 hours. One road home. I used to work at a pub that was 2 miles from my house. My shift ended at about 11 one night. I stayed there for a couple of drinks, then started walking home. Now, this had been an exceptional night for me tip-wise, and I had close to $400 in cash on me at the time. Between the pub and my house was exactly one street light, about a quarter mile from the pub. The rest of the walk was in complete darkness. This was a dark night too. It was close to the new moon and cloudy to boot, so it was almost pitch black. Now I live out in the boonies, so there isn't even much light pollution to help out. Not long after I leave the pub, a car slowly drives by me. About a quarter mile down the road, the car slows to a stop, and it just sits there. I stop walking and watch the car. It sits for a few minutes, then slowly drives away. A couple of minutes later, the same car comes slowly driving back by me in the opposite lane. It gets by me, drives a bit down the road, and slows to a stop again. Then it does a U-turn and starts creeping back down the road towards me with the lights off. At this point, I'm fucking terrified. I don't have a cell phone at the time. There's no one around to see what's going on. The car is between me and the pub, so I can't get back to the safety there. My house is still about 1.5 miles away. No way I can quickly escape there. I quickly run off the road into the woods and duck down behind a bush. I watch for the car, but it's too dark to see it with the lights off and bushes/trees/undergrowth between me and the road. I sit there for about 10 minutes, but don't hear anything. I'm about to make my way back to the road when I hear car doors closing. Now I'm really panicking. It feels like my chest is about to explode. The hairs on the back of my neck is standing up. I keep imagining someone sneaking up behind me. I stay hidden and hope to God whoever it is doesn't find me. I don't know how long I stay there, but I eventually hear car doors again, then cars passing by. I give it a couple of minutes, then ease back to the road. When I see it's clear, I haul ass back to the pub and let my boss know what happened. He said then and there that I'm never to walk home at night again. Either him, his brother, or his mom will give me a lift home. When the other servers and the kitchen staff hear what happened, they all say the same thing. Never been that terrified before. Mr. Bones, I work in a prison. When I was new, I was working overtime one night in a housing unit that has seen a lot of death. It was well after midnight, and all of the offenders were supposed to be in their cells. Since this was a medium security prison, the offenders still had access to leave their cell to use the communal bathroom at night. Well, I was going in for the 2 a.m. count. I watched an offender walk down the stairs from the second level and into the bathroom. I stood at the entrance to the bathroom and yelled in to ask them what cell they were in so I could add an extra body to that cell for my count, but got no answer. I then walked into the bathroom and searched everywhere but found absolutely nobody. I told one of my coworkers about what happened, and the first thing they asked me was he tall and skinny with long dreads? And he had been. When I answered yes, I was told, "That's Mr. Bones. He killed himself a few years ago, but he still hangs around." I still get goosebumps thinking about it. The doorbell. I don't do nights anymore, but for years I did nights in residential care facilities. One of the spookiest was in a soul-charged dementia facility, 15 D3 residents, and no one but me to keep an eye on them all. Around 3 a.m. in the morning, after doing an intentional round where you check all the residents are safe and well, I hear the doorbell ring. I get a sudden wave of goosebumps because this is a secure facility and it's the middle of the night. I go and look, put the window. There is no one there. I blow it off as being a hallucination. 10 minutes later, it rings again. I'm shitting myself. I go back to the window and check again. No one there, but I look across the street and a strange car is parked there. I take a photo of it just in case, and then I go back to my station where I've been playing a game of match the card suits with a delightful but very demented lady. I sit down and she looks at me and says, "What did the gentleman want, dearie? He looked like he had a bad night and needs a cuppa." Chills go down my spine, but I brush it off because hallucinations are common with dementia, and this lady is particularly prone to not being orientated to time and place. The doorbell rings again, less than 5 minutes later, and this time I am freaking the fuck out. Another of my residents is up and walking the hallway, painting with a clean paintbrush to keep him occupied. I pass him on the way to the front window, and he turns to me and says, "Don't answer the door alone. He might hurt you," before carrying on painting. I'm fucking shitting myself. I'm trying not to cry. I don't know what to do. I'm a single 23-year-old female in charge of 15 people with varying stages of dementia, and the fucking doorbell keeps ringing in the middle of the night. And it's a weekend, so my on-call won't answer the phone. She never does on the weekends. I look out the window and see the same car as before, and as I'm looking around, I see a shadow move in front of the door, and a person walks around the corner and then looks straight in the fucking window next to me. We make eye contact, and I scream. My residents start freaking out. I'm freaking out, and the guy just fucking bolts. I call the police. They turn up. It's chaos because I have 15 residents who have all been woken by the commotion and now have 2 police officers in their space. My on-call isn't answering her phone, and I'm struggling to deal with the whole situation. Eventually, after many cups of tea and Milo and 2 lots of PRN meds for the more challenging residents, we're mostly settled. It's now 7 a.m., and the handover shift arrives of a nurse and a caregiver. I tell them what happens, and they tell me there was a woman down the road whose house was broken into, and she was attacked in her bed by a drug seeker who ransacked her house looking for drugs. I have an internal meltdown because we have drugs in the cupboard in the med room. Good drugs too. Morphine, methadone, fentanyl, etc. I can't help but wonder if he was intentionally looking for us and just took the next best option. For reference, the facility was an old converted boarding house in a gentrified area, so lots of old doctors' houses in the area. Easy to mistake the home I worked at for a regular house. I left that job not long after because they refused to hire a second person to work the nights, despite it being understaffed, according to best practice guidelines. I hadn't thought of this in maybe 5 years. Wow. Like and subscribe for more horror stories daily.